What if I told you that the smallest creature you swat on a summer night might be holding up entire ecosystems? Or worse, what if I told you that the extinction of mosquitoes could cause a domino effect with outcomes we can't even fully imagine? Love them or hate them, mosquitoes are here for a reason. But if they've vanished overnight, completely wiped out, what would happen next? That's the thought experiment we're about to embark on, peeling back layers of science, history, and ecological interconnection to uncover the truth about the world without mosquitoes. Mosquitoes beyond the buzz. With more than 3,500 known species, mosquitoes are not just global pests. They're biological agents that have existed for nearly 80 million years, meaning they've been around long before humans could walk upright. The common perception frames them as nuisances and disease vectors. But if we zoom out and examine their ecological roles, we find something less obvious. Mosquitoes are more than just bloodsuckers. They're pollinators. They're prey. They're part of a delicate system. What's more surprising is that only a small percentage of mosquitoes actually feed on blood, and even that is largely done by females, who need protein to reproduce. The vast majority feed on nectar. It's here that we discover their first ecological contribution, pollination. Pollinators in disguise. You'd expect bees, butterflies, and birds when thinking about pollinators. Rarely do we associate that role with mosquitoes. Yet, several mosquito species contribute to the pollination of flowers, particularly in swampy and tropical regions. These mosquitoes help maintain the life cycles of specific plants that have evolved to accommodate their feeding habits. Would those plants vanish without mosquitoes? Some might. Most would probably adapt or rely more heavily on alternative pollinators. So, is mosquito pollination irreplaceable? Not quite, but it is still a functional thread in the broader tapestry of biodiversity. Nature rarely builds single points of failure, but it often builds redundancies that support overall system health. That's where mosquitoes become interesting, because their true influence doesn't stop at flowers. It spreads across the food web. Mosquitoes as food, the invisible pillar of life. Imagine removing the keystone from a Roman arch. The rest may hold for a moment, maybe even longer, but the structure is compromised. That's the metaphor we use when talking about mosquitoes as a food source. For countless animals, frogs, fish, bats, birds, and insects, mosquito larvae and adults are a significant nutritional component, especially in aquatic ecosystems. Now here's the nuance. Mosquitoes aren't always the primary diet for these animals, but in many ecosystems, especially wetlands and tropical zones, they're essential during seasonal abundance. Think of mosquito season as a seasonal buffet. Removing it would starve young birds, amphibians, and aquatic predators during key growth periods. While it's unlikely that removing mosquitoes alone would cause mass extinctions, it would initiate stress and decline in many species populations. And those declines wouldn't be limited to the first tier. As their predators suffer, so would the predators of those predators, and so on. It's a cascading failure. Nature is connected like a vast web, pulling a single thread ripples across the entire fabric. The role of mosquitoes in nutrient cycling. This is a less glamorous but more vital piece. Decomposition and nutrient flow. Mosquito larvae, living in stagnant water, feed on decaying plant matter, fungi, and microbes. In doing so, they recycle nutrients back into the environment. Their biological waste, their dead bodies. These become nutrient sources for algae and microorganisms, which feed aquatic plants, which sustain fish and insects, and so on. Remove mosquitoes, and that chain becomes thinner. Not broken, perhaps, but weakened. The health of freshwater ecosystems might decline. And these ecosystems, in turn, affect larger systems, rivers, lakes, deltas, and even atmospheric conditions. Mosquitoes as murderers, the human cost. Now let's switch perspectives. If you're human, and I assume you are, your relationship with mosquitoes is probably more hostile than symbiotic. Malaria, dengue, Zika, West Nile virus. These diseases kill hundreds of thousands each year and debilitate millions more. The primary culprit? The female Anopheles mosquito. Here's where the debate gets interesting. If mosquitoes disappeared, would we benefit? From a human-centric view, yes. Disease transmission would drop off a cliff. Malaria cases alone, currently affecting 250 million people annually, could disappear with the elimination of their only significant vector. The global burden on healthcare systems would lessen, deaths would decline, and lives would improve, especially in the developing world. From this angle, mosquitoes appear as nature's greatest villain. It's easy to root for their demise. But hold on. Are humans prepared to play God? This is where ethics, science fiction, and chaos theory converge. Just because something harms us doesn't mean its removal will heal us, or the Earth. Ecological systems are chaotic and deeply entangled. Enter the butterfly effect, the idea that a small change in one system can trigger unpredictable outcomes elsewhere. Removing mosquitoes might reduce malaria today, but what of tomorrow? For example, what happens if we eliminate mosquitoes and a new vector arises that is even harder to control? Or what if removing mosquitoes allows other disease-carrying insects to dominate? Evolution doesn't like empty niches. It fills them, often in surprising ways. Experiments, engineering, and the genetic frontier. We are no longer limited to theoretical debates. In labs across the world, scientists are developing gene editing techniques like CRISPR to suppress mosquito populations or render them infertile. Field trials in places like Burkina Faso and Brazil have already begun. The goal isn't extinction, at least not officially, but population suppression. Yet once we begin editing life at this level, where do we stop? Could these modified mosquitoes create unintended consequences in the wild? Might we eliminate one species only to see another, more dangerous one rise in its place? This isn't alarmism. It's caution. We must think through every action with a systems mindset. Ecology isn't a board game. It's a living organism. The unquantifiable, the evolutionary unknown. Here's the reality. Nature isn't static. It's dynamic, adaptive, and unpredictable. We can model mosquito extinction in labs. We can estimate food chain disruptions and hypothesize about plant pollination changes. But we cannot model long-term evolutionary feedback loops with full certainty. Will some species flourish in mosquitoes' absence? Maybe. Will others collapse? Probably. Will ecosystems rebalance over centuries? Possibly. But the truth is, we don't know. And that uncertainty should give us pause. From bloodsuckers to philosophy, the irony of mosquitoes is that they embody both the fragility and resilience of life. They kill us. They feed us. They fertilize us. They annoy us. Their extinction might help us, or it might haunt us. More than any other insect, mosquitoes challenge our perception of good and bad in nature. They remind us that life isn't built on convenience, but on balance. And balance often includes things we despise. So, should mosquitoes go extinct? The answer isn't a scientific one. It's a philosophical one. Final thoughts: to kill or not to kill? In the end, we return to the original question. What would happen if mosquitoes went extinct? The answer: a great deal, and yet maybe not everything. Some ecosystems would suffer. Some would adapt. Humans might breathe easier, but at what long-term cost? That's the gamble. That's the mystery. And that's the beauty of nature. It resists our need for control, for simplicity, for tidy solutions. Sometimes the right answer is to observe, to understand, and to act with humility. Because once a species is gone, especially one as ancient and enigmatic as the mosquito, there's no bringing it back. So next time you hear that high-pitched whine in your ear, maybe, just maybe, you'll think twice before smashing it. After all, extinction isn't just silence. It's irreversible change.